Just got to let it go.
I know, and I have been. I've just been letting it go.
Let that shit go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Sorry. It is this epic disaster. As you know, because you chose this podcast, you decided I'm going to listen to this podcast now. It's not an accident that you listen to the podcast.
But wait, what if somebody was just scrolling through and the podcast just started? They didn't choose it. They don't have to listen. But, I mean...
You don't know how podcasts work, do you?
Shut up.
It's not like that. You have to choose, basically, to listen to the podcast. And our listeners have chosen, and we say thank you for choosing to listen to the podcast.
Choosy podcast listeners, choose us.
Podcasts. Okay. What I choose is beer. I want to start with a beer. I'm really thirsty, even though I have a little glass of scotch. I'm cheating today. I have a little glass of scotch right here.
Why did you buy shit beer? I'm just curious.
Well, because you know exactly why I bought it.
This is the
I had
the second time this month.
Well, first of all,
you bought shit beer.
I don't know anything about this beer. I don't know anything about the brand. I don't know anything about the beer. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to call the beer names. I'm sorry. You could screw off the lid. Okay. So I don't know anything about it. All I know is I had to run out and grab some beer really quick, and I went to the liquor store down the street, and this is something we've never had on the podcast before, I don't think.
We have not.
Tell the fine people who chose our podcast what we're going to be drinking this week.
I do apologize for saying it's shit beer because I have never personally tasted this beer, so it could be awesome beer.
Could be really nice.
But it's Yuengling Porter, and we've had the Yuengling Lager before on the show, but we have not had the Porter, and it just says it's brewed expressly for tavern and family trade. It's 12 fluid ounces, and I imagine it's somewhere around the 5% alcohol by volume because it is Yuengling.
I don't know anything about this brand. Where does it come from? It sounds Chinese.
It's not Chinese.
I know, but it sounds. Where does it come from?
So Yuengling,
Iowa? Is that what it says? What does it say?
Okay, Yuengling and Son Inc., Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
PA. Okay. Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a P.
And again, I apologize for calling it shit beer.
All I know about this brand is I have a good friend who posted a photo of herself standing in front of a Yuengling sign. And
it's everywhere. How do you not know this brand?
You could see through her shirt.
And that's what you know of the brand?
And it looked really awesome. And that's the first time I ever heard of the brand. And it's what I always think of now whenever I see the brand. That's how strong.
Boobs.
That's how strong branding is right there.
You think of boobs.
I can't help it. That's just saying. That's great advertisement.
So the color of this particular porter is black.
It's really dark.
It is black.
Yeah. And it's a little fizzy.
It's ever so slightly fizzy. It looks really pretty.
It doesn't
in the glass.
Smell as sweet as some porters. Let's give it a sip. What do you think? You sipped it.
It's very light. It's very light. I wouldn't call that a porter. I'd call that a brown ale.
It's got a very licorice taste. Yep. Predominant taste, licorice.
Licorice.
Okay.
You licorice.
You. Hey, you know what? You know what disturbs me?
A lot of things.
You know what I'm a little miffed about? Can I tell you?
Are you miffed?
I'm a little miffed today.
You don't look miffed.
I'm on a journey of miffton.
What's happening?
We talked about this on our previous podcast.
Oh.
And I'm going to bring it up again now.
Of course you are.
At this point, a year later in this epic disaster, we still don't have a Wikipedia page. I looked for it.
Oh my God, you're right. We don't.
I looked for it to see if some person might maybe have started, because you're not allowed to start a Wikipedia page for yourself. It's against the rules. So I figured by now we've co-hosted 2 different podcasts.
And we don't have a Wikipedia page.
We have life experience. We've had things that could go into a Wikipedia page. We don't have one. I'm just a little disappointed.
And some of our listeners...
In some ways, I'm hurt.
Some of our listeners have been listening to us for 2.5 years now, because if they listen to the last podcast and this one, they have a lot of information about our lives.
No one has started a Wikipedia page.
They could enter that information into a Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
And no one has taken it upon themselves to do so.
Yeah, I'm a little crushed.
Including your wife.
I know. I'm a little crushed. I don't think your family members are supposed to do it. I don't think your work... It gets done, like political people. Their campaign will immediately go in and start changing.
Oh yeah.
But it's not supposed to happen that way. But I don't know why it's not happening. I'm just feeling.
Do you donate to Wikipedia?
Do I donate?
Yeah.
No.
When you get the page and across the top it says,
No.
we do this for free.
I don't
we need
donate.
money.
I don't donate. You know why I don't donate?
Why?
Oh, I use it a lot. We used it just a few minutes ago. I use it several times a day. Probably should donate.
Yeah.
But it is... None of the information really is verifiable. You can't really use it in any kind of scientific situation because you don't know. You don't know
So basically,
how reliable.
don't write your dissertation based on Wikipedia facts.
No, I mean, I think it's helpful. I just think that it's not necessarily reliable because the general public has access to being able to change it.
Right.
I can remember, people changing for Justin Bieber's biography and putting a bunch of crap in it. And there was stuff that went back and forth. I think anytime that happens, it's not reliable. So because of that, I don't know. I don't know that it's something unnecessary.
But you did say that you use it almost every day.
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay. And if it went away, would you be fine with that?
Yeah, because something else would come along. I'm sure something would.
Okay.
So, but, I haven't donated at this point. And maybe that's why I don't have... Are you insinuating that's why I don't have a page?
Yes.
Because I haven't donated to them?
Yes.
Wow. All right. I was just reading how, let's see, in the colleges, the whole big college scandal
Yes.
that kind of went on. And it's so odd. Okay, did you watch the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield?
25 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So in that particular, and it's a comedy, obviously, not based on reality.
At all.
A lot like Wikipedia.
Sure.
In that movie, he donates a bunch of money because he's a millionaire, and he donates a bunch of money, and they build some buildings with his name on it.
Right.
And basically, he kind of buys a degree. In the end, I think he actually earns it, but sort of buys it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
You see, like, colleges with people's name on it who donated.
And then colleges give out honorary degrees to people all the time.
Yeah, I just saw where I've been on a kick of we talked about this on the last episode. I named some of my favorite bands, but I've been on the kick of sort of like going back and rediscovering a few of those bands.
Right.
So today I watched, it's good too, U2 performing in Ireland.
Ooh, I bet that was good.
It was very good.
I
almost wept. I almost wept.
I'm going to get flack for this, and that's okay.
You're going to get fired?
Flack.
Oh, flack. Roberta?
No, not her.
Oh, somebody else. Another flack.
A sibling flack.
Okay.
U2 is not my favorite.
No, you won't get flack. My wife doesn't like him either. I think there's a generation right after mine, which would be yours and my wife's, that doesn't like U2 generally. And I think that happens with all music. I think a big band comes out and then a generation discovers them, and then the people after them, it's not cool to like them because those people like them. It's like...
I don't think that's it. I have given them a chance, and I'll be honest with you, they have some good songs that I really think are catchy and I love, and when they come on the radio, I enjoy them. But as their entire... Like, if you take their entire discography...
Yeah.
I'm going to find maybe 5 songs that I dig.
I think you might find a little bit more, I feel like.
Okay.
Like, I will say, like, I did not like U2 when they came out and started, like, putting on the big sunglasses and they were kind of like parodying rock music stars. And I kind of really didn't like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I understood it. I feel like it went on too long. But they've sort of mellowed out from that. And so I really liked the concert that I saw today. And I like all their early stuff.
Okay.
And, there's some music that... I don't know. I might even say it's bland. It's just, it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
But when they want to make a statement, God, man, they do.
They do.
It's just, they've been around for so long.
Right.
They got to do shit too. They're doing some great stuff. And then in between that, there's some stuff that's like, eh.
You want to know another band that I don't particularly care for that other people might give me flack for?
I don't know. What?
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I'm not a big Zeppelin fan.
I'm not a big Zeppelin fan.
I actually, the other day, I watched some Led Zeppelin. Live Led Zeppelin on YouTube because let me just say I can appreciate Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
They're musicians.
Yes.
They're incredible musicians. They did some music that it's fun to jam to, but
Yeah.
I've never really cared for them.
Yeah.
They were a little bit beyond my. They were older than me, and kind of my theory. The people older than me liked them, and so I was like, no, that's not for me.
Right.
It's not your dad's music, but it's people who are just too old for me.
But see,
that's the way I looked at it.
I loved my parents' music. My father listened to Creedence Clearwater, Anne Murray. I mean, he had pretty like extreme, or he liked Tammy Wynette, you know. And
my dad did too.
Yeah, but he also liked like Creedence, and he liked oh, for the love of God, I can't remember his name. The Man in Black. Why
Johnny
can't-
Cash.
Thank you. Johnny Cash. And stuff like that as well. So I loved all that. And then my mother had a different view on music, and her favorites were Elvis, which, of course, who doesn't love Elvis? And Cher. Sonny and Cher, even. And I got into all of that, too.
I was really not into my parents' music when I was growing up. There's a lot of stuff that my dad listened to that I think now, if my dad was alive, I would like to sit down and say, yeah, I like that stuff now. I didn't understand it. I mean, even like Buck Owens, who I always just like, that's not for me at all.
I don't even know who Buck Owens is.
Well, he was one of the co-hosts of Hee Haw.
Oh, okay.
But Buck Owens was his group, Buck Owens and the Buckaroos, had the what they called the Bakersfield sound, which was California country.
Right.
The country music from California.
Yep.
So it had a different feel, kind of almost a swing to it.
Yep.
And I didn't understand any of that stuff. It was all just the same crap to me. I didn't want to listen to it.
Right.
But now that I'm older and I sample a lot more stuff that I don't do anymore, and I start hearing that, and I'm like, wow, okay, I could have dug that maybe back then. I don't know. I just never gave it a chance.
Yeah.
I was listening to you too. But I mean, for me, like my first big artist that I listened to, then I guess you listen to a lot of stuff when you're a kid, but there comes a point when you just grab onto an artist like, this is my guy.
Yes.
So do you know who that would be for me?
I was going to say Billy Joel.
That's who in the long run it became.
Okay.
But who was the very first?
Oh, gosh.
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know.
Barry Manilow.
I remember you telling me Barry
So like when I was in
Manilow.
high school, Barry Manilow did a live album called Barry Manilow Live. It was a huge big seller, and he was cool back then.
Yeah.
And I loved that album. I actually listened to it the other day, and it's the first time I'd heard it in years. But I don't know anybody who thinks Barry Manilow is cool, unless it's your grandma. Older ladies do. Mm-hmm. But it's not something you want to talk about at the men's meetings.
Right.
But
Not
I mean,
really.
I still have a connection with him. I mean, you know, he's kind of jazzy and maybe a little bit cheesy. I mean, Billy Joel will be my dude forever, but Barry Manilow was the beginning. he was my first. This is my artist, and I saw him live in concert once.
That's awesome.
So I think it might have been the first live concert I ever saw.
So my dad and I used to do this thing. We would sit and listen to music together, and my sister used to get. This is another side bit. My sister used to get so mad at me because I'd go out to Tower Records and buy an album, and I would know all the lyrics to the entire album within 2 days.
Wow.
Because I would sit and I would study and I would listen and I would sing along and I would do all of that, and I would know the entire song, the entire album within 2 days. And my sister would just get so mad. But my dad and I used to sit and listen to music, and he would put on his Creedence album, and then I would put on Missing Persons, and then he would put on Johnny Cash, and then I would put on Cyndi Lauper, you know, and we would go back and forth, and he really enjoyed the music that I enjoyed, and vice versa. So while they're completely different, we both got a lot of enjoyment out of it. And I remember in the car one time, and this was years later, so I'd say I was about 12 or 13 years old, and a song came on the radio, and my dad's like, "Oh, that's my," he didn't say that's my jam, but that, you know, he
Right.
He told us that's his jam. I really like that song. Turn that up. And we turn it up, and it's Twisted Sister. Yeah.
We're not going to take it?
We're not going to take it.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was his song. He
I
loved
always
that
thought
song.
that song and Beastie Boys' Fight for Your Right for Party were
Yes.
just, to party was kind of the same song. But of course, the Beastie Boys really went on. This is a big tangent, but there's a very interesting documentary about Twisted Sister, and I've never cared at all about Twisted Sister, but it's a very interesting documentary. If you're
Okay.
into it, I think it's on Netflix or maybe Hulu. Look it up.
I will do that. Yeah.
We need to play some Would You Rather
All right.
games in
You
there.
go first this time.
I will. I will say just one more little thing about U2. I will say I don't know of any other band ever who's ever come close to sounding like them. You know, whenever there's a band that has a sound that becomes popular, then suddenly everyone wants to sound like
that. Yeah.
And I've heard some people who do some effects and things that sound like U2, but no one's ever sounded like U2. And U2 sounds like has never sounded anything like another band, to the point where you just think, how did they ever become popular? How did it ever work?
Right.
It's just not something that I think a music person or music industry person would go, we could sell that. It just seems
'Cause
so
it's so
different.
unique.
So different.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like them.
Okay. If anybody listening thinks that they have a band in mind that they think sounds like U2 or comes close or even better than U2, email us at thisepicdisaster let me try that one more time. Thisepicdisaster at gmail.com.
That's the French version.
A friend of mine at work today told me that his 4-year-old son, whenever he says his address, like his email address, he says first name, last name at gmail.com. Gmail.
That's kind of cool.
And his dad says, no, it's Gmail. Gmail.
It's like GIF and GIF.
And well, what it brought to mind for me was Gary Gnu, reading the GNUs. And if I can do this, I'm going to do it. No GNUs is good GNUs.
Where does that come from?
You don't remember Gary Gnu? Oh, my God. Was it Electric Company? One of those shows like...
I watched a lot of Electric Company, but I don't remember that.
Okay, maybe it wasn't.
It could be. Maybe I don't remember.
Gary Gnu.
All right, I'm going to drop a stone, and we're going to play some Would You Rather
All right,
now.
do it to it.
Man, red is burning my hand. Look at that.
Liar, you were looking.
I was not. Sometimes I just know. Sometimes I know.
Okay, this is a horrible, horrible question.
Horrible in like a bad question, or just gonna? It's disgusting.
Just, your options are not good.
Oh.
They're not good. So red is pain, fear, and discomfort.
Ow, I never
and
liked that.
This question has all of them.
Oh no.
So would you rather
Okay.
file down your own teeth a quarter of an inch,
Oh no.
or with a coarse file? No less.
It doesn't make a difference
It
either
really
way.
doesn't.
I don't think that's gonna.
It's not like,
I have a feeling, especially if you've got a coarse file, your teeth are gonna break before you get there.
Well, and it's not like you're doing cocaine for 20 years to where you just file them down anyways, all by yourself.
Is that how it works?
This is with a file. You are literally filing your teeth down
Okay.
quarter of an inch. Or shoot a bullet through your cheek from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Is
would
that
you
it?
rather?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Cheek. Yeah, I'll do that.
You'd rather shoot a bullet
Yeah.
through your face.
If you file your teeth down, first of all, that process is going to take forever and it's going to hurt for the rest of your life. If you shoot your cheek, it's going to take a second. It's going to hurt like hell for a little while, and then it'll heal and you're okay.
You're
I'll do
absolutely
the
right.
cheek. I'll do the cheek any day.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's like piercing your cheek, sure.
I agree with you. With a really big needle.
Well, see, I don't like any kind of pain that other people inflict on me, even if it's lesser pain. It makes no sense, but that's just the way it is. So I couldn't stand the idea of going to, Spencer Gifts and getting my ear pierced by another person.
So you did it yourself.
Which would have taken a split second.
Right.
So instead, I did it myself with a needle, and it took maybe 30 minutes to do it because I was like, "Ooh, it's gonna hurt."
It hurt.
And it stung, but it didn't hurt.
And then tell people what happened when I bought you larger gauged earrings.
I don't know what. What do you want me to say?
Because
I've never taken them out. Is that what you want?
Well, but you had 2 ear piercings, and you were using very, very thin earrings in them. So I bought you 2 larger gauge earrings that are full circle.
Yes.
They're and you spent, I think, 8 total hours that day trying to push them through, rather than going and having your ears stretched just a little bit, just a teensy tiny bit.
I don't remember that.
You worked and worked and worked to get those things in there. You don't remember that?
I don't remember that, but I do remember that I do know that they have not been out of my ear since we put them in.
That's true.
So 10 years or close to it.
Yep, you've had those in.
Yeah. They almost, when I had the colonoscopy a couple years ago, they almost made me take them out. And I told them they were complete and they couldn't come out. So they didn't make me do it.
What's funny is that I've had several MRIs with piercings in, and I've lost piercings because I had to take them out for MRIs.
Oh.
One of which was of my head. So yes, I absolutely have to take them out. So, okay, it's my turn.
It's your turn. Get a question here.
It's a green one.
It's a greenin', as we say. A greenin'.
Greenin'.
Greenin'. That's a greenin' right there. All right, your question is a green question. Would you rather live with your true love who abuses you? Why would your true love abuse you? Or live happily with someone you like but will never love?
I'll take B.
You did that.
Yeah, I did that. No, I didn't do that.
You did that with me.
I didn't do that with you.
You did.
Lies. Those are lies. We're not going to get into that conversation on the podcast.
I can remember that. Something like that.
Shut up.
I don't know.
Move on.
Just saying.
Okay, it's time for a dad joke.
What?
So
that's what we get, a dad joke.
Did you hear about the man who stole a calendar?
He needed a date.
He got 12 months.
Oh. Sometimes I feel like my responses are better than the originals.
Why don't skeletons ever go trick-or-treating?
Because they got a boner. I probably shouldn't say some of the things that I say.
Because they have nobody to go with.
Nobody to
go with.
And their candy would just fall straight through.
I mean, that's okay.
And they have a boner. No one wants to trick or treat with a boner.
You know that scene?
This is my rule. Don't trick or treat with a boner.
Why not?
I feel like we need to print up T-shirts that
Don't
say,
trick or treat with a boner.
Don't trick or treat with a boner.
That would suck for my friend Christy, who came to a Halloween party dressed as a nun. And then a few drinks in, she lifted her habit.
Whoa.
To show the strap-on she was wearing
Hello.
underneath her habit.
It's my kind of party right there.
Right? And then it got funner from there. But
we should probably, even though it's embarrassing, we should probably talk a little bit about Halloween gifts. Halloween.
Oh, God. You want to just throw that word embarrassing out there one more time, please?
Well, okay. So what happened is, we did a Halloween thing.
What happened was?
We did a Halloween contest, and we had several winners. And we kind of slacked a little bit on sending out the gifts.
What do you mean by we?
Well, we both did. We both did, really. And it was because we don't have really great communication when we're not doing the show. And so we finally
What do you mean by that? Are you calling me out?
We finally got our crap together and we said, let's get this stuff sent out, and we did send it out. So I think everybody has their gifts at this point. Maybe one is left and we're working on that one. So
what you're saying,
sent out and everything is good.
What you're saying is that I don't communicate well when we're not talking on the podcast?
We generally don't, and I have many, many, many unanswered texts to prove it.
Lies. Okay. I answer your texts. I just do it in person the next time I see you.
Okay, sure.
That's how it works.
Whatever you say.
It's true.
What you got going on over there? We need a good topic for this week. What are we going to talk about this week? That's interesting?
Well,
something bloody. Something bloody? Something about murder?
Yeah.
People who have died?
No, this is not about murder or death at all. It's about amputation. Totally different.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's getting amputated?
Okay,
do I want to know?
Yes.
Oh, let me tell you this. This is about amputation.
What?
Back in my hometown, this has been several years ago.
Yeah.
But there was this dude that I think he killed some people, maybe. I believe he did. I can't remember the story. All I remember is he said that God told him to cut his penis off with a pocket knife, and he did it.
Ouch.
That's when I become an atheist, right then.
I imagine
any God that's like, you must cut off your Johnson for me.
With a pocket knife.
With a pocket knife, preferably one that is dull.
And no more than 2 inches long.
I'd be like, sorry, excuse me, I'm going to hell. All right? I've decided I don't need you. I'll take the hell. Okay? Because do you want to be in heaven for the rest of your life with no penis? I don't.
It doesn't sound like heaven. No, it really doesn't.
That is hell.
What about that guy that wanted someone to cut his penis off in an S&M situation, in a bondage situation. He put out on Craigslist that he wanted somebody to do this to him.
I vaguely remember that.
And he found somebody to do it to him.
Well, we've also talked about the dude on the documentary about the Penis Museum.
Yeah.
And there were like 4 or 5 guys who wanted to donate. This guy was he had every species penis that was available in the Penis Museum except one, and that was the human. And so this is what the whole documentary is about, his quest to find the human penis.
Right.
And he wanted to get one that was a little bit larger than normal, I think.
Okay. He was looking for the perfect specimen?
I didn't get one call. That's all I'm saying. Not one call. I could have...
Well, you didn't advertise properly.
Anyway, word of mouth. I mean,
Literally.
I'm just saying, would people, the word on the street is, but it didn't happen. Anyway, so there were like 3 guys that offered to donate. This really old guy that was supposed to be massive, and they discovered in kind of doing the research and the pre-measuring that he wasn't as massive as his reputation said he was.
Okay.
And I think his excuse was, well, I'm old and it's getting shorter. That's basically what he said.
I was in the pool.
It's getting smaller. I'm cold.
I was in the pool.
Let me see a movie with Scarlett Johansson. I'll prove it.
Some girls.
Yeah. But so and then there were 2 others, but one guy wanted to donate and he wanted to be the first and he wanted to do it so bad. He wanted to go ahead and have it done while he was alive.
Yeah.
He was going to donate while he was alive. And in his description, he was from Texas and he had a Texas size piece of meat. That's what he said.
Okay.
So, but I don't know who actually ended up doing it.
Do you think that he would have done it himself or have a doctor do it? Like remove his penis?
I'm guessing a doctor because it needed to be done a certain way for it to be shown, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, it couldn't be all ragged on
But
you.
the guy was going to do it. And then, according to the documentary, that he gradually started realizing that the dude was crazy and wouldn't accept his peni anymore.
Because it's probably
he's
not
crazy.
wise.
And so there's more of the story that didn't even get on the documentary. I think you can read it on Wikipedia. But anyway, check that documentary. I can't remember what I saw it the other day. So it's still on. Again, I don't remember if it's Netflix or Hulu, but you can watch it.
Because you use that Apple TV thing.
I do. I don't remember which is which, but anyway, watch that.
Okay.
About the Penis Museum.
Speaking
About
of
cutting shit off.
cutting shit off.
Yeah.
I have an article I'd like to discuss.
Okay.
And and I'd like to do it with a little bit more respect than we were just having about men cutting their penis off.
Are we capable of doing that?
Possibly.
Okay.
So basically this article is from the New Yorker and it's about a doctor, Dr. First, spelled just like first.
Really?
Yeah.
Dr. First.
Dr. First.
First doctor.
And he treats. He's a psychiatrist. He's a professor of psychiatry at Columbia University.
The first psychiatrist.
Maybe. And he treats people with what's called body integrity identity disorder.
Which would be what?
People who want to have a limb amputated.
Ow! Huh?
A perfectly healthy limb.
Well, so not
an
like
objectively fully functioning limb.
Not sexual limb, but like limb, like
a part of their body.
Leg.
Yes.
Leg, arms.
And obviously reading from this article, I read the whole thing, and they say that the most common part of the body that people with this disorder want removed,
left arm?
Left leg.
Okay.
Above the knee.
All I'm thinking about right now is the Dark Knight in Monty Python.
It's a flesh
chop
wound.
Off his leg, and then they chop off the other leg, and then they chop off the arm and the other arm.
But a flesh wound.
And he's just like, let's call it a draw. Why would someone want their leg cut off? On purpose? Just for no reason?
Yeah,
just
perfectly healthy leg cut off. And why would they? That's the question that this article is trying to discover. And they go back to the 70s, a Dr. John Money.
First and Money. There's something weird.
Something going on here,
Somebody's making up these names.
But he was an expert on...
Dr. Box. I'm just going to call it Box.
He was an expert on sexuality at Johns Hopkins University.
Aren't we all?
And he named this disorder... I'm not going to pronounce this properly, but apodomnophilia.
Okay.
Which literally means love of amputation. And he considered it a form of paraphilia, which is a sexual deviation, if you will.
So like people who like to watch movies and stuff with people who are amputees. And things
right,
like that.
right.
Okay.
And then 20 years later, in 1997, Dr. Richard Bruno of Englewood Hospital in New Jersey proposed the name factitious disability disorder. That's not how you say it. Which he grouped into three types. There were people who were sexually aroused by amputees, and he called them devotees.
Devotees?
Devotees.
Why?
I don't know.
How strange.
Those who use wheelchairs and crutches to make it seem as if they are amputees, and he calls them pretenders.
Okay, so I could do that.
Okay, and then
I would be a pretender.
And then the third group is those who actually want to get amputations themselves, and he calls them wannabes.
Okay.
Which is kind of rude. But he says that those who do manage to obtain amputations continue to be known as wannabes because they didn't actually need the amputation. Now...
So they just want to be rid of a leg.
Yeah. And I watched I remember years ago, I don't have a name of this documentary or anything, but I remember watching a documentary where this person literally hated their left arm. Hated it. And used those words.
There's been a couple times I didn't speak to my left arm, but I don't hate it. I've
played tricks on my left arm.
I feel like there's some vague memory in my head where I've seen something about this before. And maybe I've seen a documentary or something.
There used to be a show on either Showtime or HBO about fetishes. And I wonder if that's where I saw it. Because there was also the guy with the balloon fetish.
With the sex. Why
is this a sexual thing? I don't think it is. I think it's more, and this article does talk about how it's more...
We got to have a fetish show. We need a show about fetishes.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of fascinated by some of that stuff.
Yeah.
What the hell is a fetish? We need to get a sexual doctor on here.
Let's do that.
We need to get somebody to kind of answer
Why
some of our
don't you make
questions.
an appointment?
I don't know any.
Well, make an appointment with one. Find one.
My
Make
wife
an
knows a
appointment.
lot of doctors.
There you go.
We could get someone.
It's got to be somebody at Emory.
Get like a Dr. Ruth.
Or maybe, what's the other hospital? Grady. Maybe. No, let's not go to Grady.
I don't know anything.
Okay. So... They call it now body integrity identity disorder, and this doctor more recently thinks that it's much more closer to body dysmorphic disorder, which is the false belief that a part of your body is ugly or abnormal.
That kind of makes more sense to me.
To me too. It's like people who. But even back in the 90s and even before that, there were some doctors who were associating this with anorexia. People who believe they are fat when they are not.
Yeah, I mean, I have looked at myself at times in the mirror and when I'm weighing too much. And I mean, rarely would I just say I was getting disgusted, but you just ooh, that doesn't look good. I don't look good. But I can't imagine in my head, I can't imagine a situation where it's I just don't want this leg or I don't want this arm. And even that's just something I can't even relate to.
Right. Now,
that's an interesting thing.
Dr. First also says the closest analogy was to gender identity disorder, which to me doesn't make any sense at all.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. He says, and this is a quote of his, when the first sex reassignment was done in the 1950s, it generated the same kind of horror that voluntary amputation does now. So surgeons ask themselves how, and this is horror among surgeons doing the fellow surgeons who do the work.
Yes.
He says surgeons ask themselves, how can I do this thing to someone that's, I'm putting this in quotes, normal? The dilemma of the surgeon being asked to amputate a healthy limb is similar. So I can see that.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that.
But what he says later, and this makes more sense to me, because he says it's one thing to say someone wants to go from male to female or vice versa, because those are both normal states of being. Male is a normal state of being. Female is a normal state of being. So if you want to go from one to the other, you're going from one normal state of being to another. To want to go from a four-limbed person to an amputee feels more problematic. Like it doesn't compute to people.
How do you... I don't want to go down this path again, because we did a very, very long discussion a couple weeks ago on trans issues and things like that. But it's like, how does one long for a vagina? And I don't mean that.
I know how I long for a vagina.
I just mean, if you don't know what it feels like, why? How can you, in your mind, I don't know, that's a very psychological thing. And then to think, I just have to get rid of this leg or this arm, I can see how they might be similar. One is associated with more with sexual identity, whereas the other, I'm not sure what it's associated with.
Right.
And I don't know what those feelings are. There are some people in this world who just enjoy manipulating their body. And it could be anything from extensive tattoos, I mean, like lots and lots of tattoos, to putting things under the skin to change the shape
Implants.
of bodies,
Yep.
to piercings, to even filing the teeth.
Filing
and
the teeth.
splitting the tongues. And I mean, there are people who split their penis. I don't understand that.
Right.
But it's done and they enjoy it.
And there are people who remove their labia.
Yeah. I've never tried that.
Well, you don't have one.
Well,
There's nothing to remove.
someone else removed it. But I just don't, I don't understand body sculpting. Okay?
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a legitimate thing. I see it. It's an interesting thing to me. But I mean, like we were talking earlier, just like people who want to be a lizard to the point where they change their whole skin, everything to look like a lizard. I don't understand what that is. And
Right.
I'm wondering if all of these things kind of like are attached, if they're all kind of stem from the same.
If they're amputated, they're not attached. I'm sorry. That was horrible. I apologize.
I just wonder if they're all kind of psychologically attached, you know? The desire to change your body in some way and manipulate the way your body looks. And it could either be from tattoos to taking off a leg. Could it all be associated with the same psychological thing?
Maybe. He says there's definitely some component of, and this is his quote, undergoing amputation of a limb and subsequently overachieving despite a handicap. So it's almost like these people have a goal to prove something about themselves that they, I mean, but that just feels so different than hating your left arm to wanting to prove that you can do everything with one arm. Those feel like two totally separate things to me.
I just feel like it's a drastic way to win the gold medal in the Special Olympics.
I wonder if they would be admitted into the Special Olympics if they chose
I just
have
wanted
a
to prove
limb
that I could do a
removed.
more offensive comment than you.
You did. You did. So what he says, remember I was telling you about the most common thing they want amputated is the left leg above the knee.
Yes.
The least common is a finger or a toe. And
Well, if you're amputating above the knee, that's going to take
more than it's going to take 5 toes.
Yeah.
Right. But what he says also is that some people actually know the exact spot where they want the amputation to occur. So not just above the knee, but 4 inches above the knee.
That's an interesting psychological thing. I have a theory too.
What's that?
And again, this is armchair psychology. I'm not trained. I'm not a therapist. But I also wonder if it has something to do with a person who needs to feel like they're less than they are. So what I mean by that is someone who in life feels like they cannot succeed. They're not able to be as successful as other people. And they don't have a reason for that. They're just not. So
Okay.
they feel driven to give a reason. And if I didn't have an arm, I can always blame it on that. I can always say, I'm not successful because I don't have an arm. I'm not successful. I don't have a leg. And it might not be something that is conscious. It could be unconscious.
Right.
Again, I'm talking possible psychological reasons. I don't know.
Right. This feels different, though. This feels opposite of that. This feels
Really?
this feels like someone who wants to prove that they're just as good as you with only one arm.
But you can't. You can't prove. Okay, juggle.
Like in their
I mean, you can't do it. I'm just saying there's always going to be. I mean, you could juggle with one hand, but I'm just saying there's always going to be a handicap, and that's what I'm wondering if they want to be able to say, I could be as good as you if I was whole, and when they were whole, they weren't, and they feel like that somehow gives them an excuse. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And
So-
I don't know. I don't know what the psychological studies are. I'm just wondering.
So in this article, they do talk about one specific patient. They don't give his name, and if they did, I wouldn't give it to you either. This person says, because he ended up having both of his legs amputated.
Oh.
Both of his normally functioning legs amputated.
And then you realize you don't want to do it. You're
Too
like,
late.
oh, crap.
This is a quote from him. He says, "It wasn't so much that I wanted to be an amputee as much as I just felt like I was not supposed to have my legs."
How bizarre.
And he says, from the earliest days I can remember, as young as 3 or 4 years of age, I enjoyed playing around using croquet sticks as crutches. I enjoyed thinking about what it would be like to be missing a leg. When we were playing, little boys and little girls play like cowboys and Indians, which is horrible. I seemed to be the person who always got wounded in the leg. Like that was his role. And it just, that's what led him to want to get it done, I guess.
I don't know where to go with it. I just feel like there's so many other options, I mean, and I'm not a big believer in reincarnation, but what if there's reincarnation and you have had like damage to your legs and you just have this impulse to do that?
Maybe.
There's so many possibilities. I don't know. I feel bad for the people. If it makes them happy, I feel good for them. But I also feel like that there might be a problem.
Well, this
Could be a
doctor
problem.
is open to, however, he believes there needs to be a lot more research done to the fact that maybe as a last resort treatment, amputation really is the way to go.
Well, I think you mentioned to me earlier, we were kind of discussing this, and you said some people just resort to even chainsaws.
Yes, some people, because they cannot get a surgeon to do
Or
it.
dull pocket knives.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, a chainsaw.
Chainsaw or a gun. They'll use a gun to shoot off part of their body.
That just hurts.
Well, yeah, and it's not safe, clearly.
Well, if you'd like to be rid of one of your limbs,
Don't use a chainsaw.
Contact us at thisepicdisaster@gmail.com. We'll see what we could do. We might be able to help you out.
I mean, I might
We
chew
might
it off.
be able to give you a hand.
I can chew it off.
Should I have said that?
Give you a hand.
Should I have said that? I don't know. I don't know what the proper things are.
Well, at least you didn't say it in our trans show.
No.
Give you a hand job.
Hey,
Wait, you did
I
say that in our hand. Okay.
I did say that. So I have a question for you,
You're going to pose a question to me.
toward yourself. And there's a weird thing.
I'm not weird.
I feel like we might have discussed this before,
What's that?
but yet I don't remember. And that could be because I'm old.
It's probably because you're old.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is, are there any decisions you've made in your life? No. Are there any decisions you were going to make in your life that if you had made that decision, it would have completely, totally changed the direction of your life, but you didn't make that decision? You didn't decide to do
Okay,
something.
that's different. Because if I had a decision to make and I just didn't make the decision, that means I didn't go either way.
Yeah.
But what you're asking is if I had went one way instead of another.
Well, not making a decision is making a decision. But I'm just saying, if you had made a decision towards a certain way, it would have completely, and you know for a fact, it would have completely changed what you are doing right now.
Yes. It's funny that you bring this up because I was actually thinking about this today, maybe yesterday.
Psychic.
No, you're not. So, Okay, when I was 16 or 17 years of age, I went to a free, mind you, free audition / training class to do voiceovers.
Really?
I did.
I didn't know that.
And I was the first person to read out loud. And I was doing really well. But mind you, I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And not very confident teenager at all. And there was a phrase in the lines I had to read, and I remember what it was. It was, I was like supposed to be really excited about something that I was selling, and I was supposed to use the phrase, "Oh, baby, this is the best." Okay.
I tried to get you to say that to me for so many years.
And I never did. So, and I didn't at this point either. And I could not bring myself to say it. And I got so embarrassed and so anxious and so self-conscious that I ran out.
Your career was over.
I ran out.
Yeah.
And they chased me. They're like, just come back. I think you can really do this. I really think you can do this. I think you'd be great. And I was just like, no, I can't. I gotta go. So
I've seen you do that on other things too. So yeah.
So I ran out.
Imagine.
I got afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I ran out. And I dropped it and I left it and I didn't touch it for years and years and years and years. And here I am now preparing to make a reel,
Mm-hmm.
a demo reel for voiceovers.
Sure.
30 years later. What does that say about me?
Well, I think it says that you had an interest and a drive towards something early on that you ignored for a while and then came back to.
A long while.
Well, I feel like too the podcasts have helped.
Yes.
It's helped you to kind of realize, oh, you got a talent somewhere. You could do this.
That's true.
You get feedback from people that's like they love your voice and stuff, and I think I've said for a long time you should do it.
So had I done that, now mind you, this was in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska, so I probably would have ended up doing the cheesy ass commercials you can find in Anchorage, Alaska that are done locally.
Yeah, all local commercials
If you
are
want
cheesy.
to, look that shit up because they are cheesy, like double cheese.
I love double cheese.
But, you know, it could have led to more. I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't have done what I've done for 30 years now. I think it would have put me in a different situation overall.
Interesting. So you'd be a voiceover artist today.
Possibly.
You kind of are, but yeah, you'd have more experience anyway.
Possibly.
Sure. Cool.
So what about you?
I have two that I can think of. One's more of an impact than the other, I would think. So when I was in college, I was engaged, and my fiance lived in Okinawa, and went back to Okinawa after college, and was going to come back, and then decided that she wasn't going to come back. She was going to just stay there. She liked it there. Going to stay there.
But you were engaged to be married to her.
We were, and so that kind of put a stop to that. But in my, love state, it was just like, I've got to get there.
So you were going to get a passport.
I mean, really
and head
now
there.
it'd be just like, oh, so she doesn't care. She doesn't
Right.
want to see me.
Let's be
so
done with that.
Screw that. I'm going on.
Right.
But at the time, early 20s, I was like, I must go there.
And make her love me.
She will love me if I'm there.
Right.
That is true. So I just thought, how do I get to Okinawa? What am I going to do in Okinawa? Let me join the military. That's how I will do it.
Oh, dear God.
I will join the military.
You know they wouldn't have sent you to Okinawa.
I will tell them I want to be stationed in Okinawa because we have Okinawa there. Soldiers in Okinawa.
Yes, we do.
And so bases and stuff. So I was
Sure.
like, I could get stationed to Okinawa. That'd be perfect.
But they never send you where you want to go.
They said they would. So,
Oh, you went and talked to him?
Oh, this is the whole story.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. Now, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but like when I was in high school, I was in JROTC, and I went way up. I was like fourth in command at the university. I mean, at the high school, and so all of that experience was supposed to help, and it would have given me advanced rankings in the military,
Right.
according to the recruiter. this is the stuff they tell you. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just
Right.
saying this is what they led me to believe. So I would go in and I would advance pretty quick, apparently. So anyway, and then I was just like, I would really want to be stationed. And they ask you this, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be stationed? And I wanted to be stationed in Okinawa. And they're, sure, we could do that. And again, I don't know if anything they promise you as a recruit actually has to happen. I think that they can BS their way through it. I don't know, just to get you in, and they send you wherever they want. I don't know.
I
that.
have a feeling that's the case.
So I decided I was going to do this. I put all the wheels in motion. I signed all the papers. I did all the stuff. I went to the hotel. And so the process was I was supposed to stay all night in the hotel. The next morning I would get up. I would go through the physical, the exam. The papers would be signed. I would be in the military at that point immediately. So I went to the hotel and I stayed. I had dinner. And I'm having dinner with these other people who are signing up. And I realized, so some of these guys I got to hang out with, huh? And I was not very enthusiastic about some of the people who I met that I was going to have to hang out with. And I started thinking about it. And I just thought, what am I doing? I'm signing up for something that I can't undo. I'm committing to something I cannot uncommit to. This is not good. And so I decided I don't want to do this. So I called someone to come pick me up. And they came and picked me up, and I didn't sign any papers. And then, like, the recruiter called me, like, the next day and tried to make me feel guilty. And it's like, the American taxpayers had to pay for your
Dinner.
hotel room and dinner.
Oh, dear God, no.
And you cheated them and blah, all that kind of stuff. Tried to make me feel guilty. But I didn't do it. And thank goodness I didn't do it.
Right?
But that one thing, that one decision that I just decided, boom, not going to do it. If I had done it, it would have completely changed the course of my life.
Absolutely.
Every decision you make basically would.
Right.
But that was one thing.
That's a bit more drastic than mine. My little running out because I'm afraid.
I don't know. It's
you
the same
didn't run
thing.
out because you're afraid.
Yeah, I kind of did. I didn't go because I was afraid. I didn't want to be in that. I just really started thinking that's not the lifestyle that I wanted. And I mean, there was a part of my brain that felt like I could do it. I had been to military bases before, and they seemed cool. I mean, I was fine with, and that lifestyle at the time was something that was in my head was an option. I could have done it. Now, no, but then it was. So
wow,
that was it.
I never realized you got that close.
Oh, I was within hours of actually signing my life away.
Wow.
Yeah, and who knows what I don't know what would happen. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't have gone to Okinawa, but I have no idea what I would be doing, where I'd be doing it, or anything like that. But it almost happened.
Interesting.
And there was a thing in my head. The military life would have been fine. Because at the time, I liked that. That was great. And I think a lot of people have made great lives out of it, and there's no problem. I just realized it wasn't going to be for me.
It wouldn't have worked for you.
And I
wouldn't
think
have worked for you.
The other one, which I think is a little less impactful, is when I was doing stand-up comedy. I remember my last show that I was doing, I was on stage, and I can remember that exact moment when in my head, I just said, this is not fun anymore. And I never did it again. And I just think, every once in a while, I just think, what if I just said, yeah, okay, so that one wasn't fun, and I'm going to do another one.
Right.
And then just kept doing it and
right.
and kept pushing. I might have had a career, a different career. Who knows what I would be doing now? I don't know. But I just remember that thought, that voice in my head saying, this is not fun anymore. I'm never doing this again. And I didn't. I've never done it since then.
You've thought about it.
I did think about it. I still think about it. Every once in a while, I'll think about it. This past week, I don't think about doing stand-up anymore, but I think about developing like a one-person show, which is kind of stand-up-ish.
Or some sketch comedy or something.
I'd love to do sketch comedy,
Sure,
but
sure.
that's not something I've really pursued. But just, that could have been a career. Didn't do it.
Wow. So, if any of our listeners have a moment that they would like to describe to us in which they could have gone down a completely different path, and they want to write a little snippet about it and send it to us, please do so. Send it to thisepicdisaster@gmail.com, and we will read it on the podcast. If it's not like, if I hadn't killed that woman, I wouldn't be in prison.
Well, there's more. That's true, but there's more too, though. I always think about the people that's just like, I got sick that day. If I hadn't, I would have been in one of the Twin Towers.
Right.
I hear those people all the time, and I'm like, holy crap.
Right.
Can
I
you
didn't
imagine
go to work that day. I took a mental health day that day.
the rest of your life you're thinking about that? Or the people who are like, I couldn't get on that flight. I couldn't get the ticket.
I didn't
my
get
ticket
there
got
on
canceled
time.
or something.
Right.
And then you're just like, during that time, you're mad. And then you're like, holy crap, I'm so glad.
Right.
But I mean, there are things like that it's just like, I just happen to be in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the wrong time. And if I hadn't have made that decision, this is where what I would be doing. I think about that a lot. I mean,
I do too. I think
we all have those moments where it's just like, if I had been at that intersection, that could have been me that truck hit.
If I had left 5 minutes earlier, like I had planned to, if I hadn't, decided to have that last drink.
If I wore pants to the job interview, maybe I would be employed today.
If I hadn't forgot my bra that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of things.
Yeah. So, I mean, you never know. It's always interesting to me what other people's paths that they could have taken but didn't.
Yep.
And did they regret it? Because I don't regret it. I don't really regret not doing comedy. I regret that more than not going to the military.
Yeah, I bet.
But I know if I had gone into the military, I could have learned to like it, because there was a part of that I really liked. And the military, basically the military will take care of you for the rest of your life.
Right.
Depending on what job you have, you can have a fantastic job that can actually translate into civilian world and whatever. So I don't know. If I had gone that direction, who knows? My life might have been better than it is now. Who knows?
Maybe.
I don't know what I would have done. I had some options that I wanted to do at the time. I wanted to be a minister, so I thought I wanted to go into the chaplaincy in the military, but I also did music, so I could have been in one of the bands or things. I didn't want to kill people.
You didn't want to be a grunt.
But I think there was a part of it too. Was just like, I don't want to be responsible for that. So I just had some difficulties. And I remember the recruiter asking me, would you kill someone if you had to? And I said, no. And he looked at me, he was like, really?
No.
But I mean, he had been through training. He'd been through the mental training that let you know if you had to kill someone, you would. And I hadn't been through that.
Right.
But I was a pacifist and still am, basically. Unless you touch my scotch. It's empty.
Oh, okay. I just touched his glass for those of you wondering what just happened.
But I just think that, but I mean, that turned out fine. And I mean, really, I think the whole world of stand-up, I don't know that I would be good for life on the road. I mean, going from playing here and there and all this stuff.
Random motel rooms that probably have bed bugs with some chicken wings and a pint of ice cream.
If you're that lucky, you get a hotel room.
It just doesn't sound,
The more, and my background is in theater, performing, and but I see the more I see people who are into that world, the more I'm so thankful I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I just, for a lot of reasons, I mean, just psychologically, a lot of the people are just, are very, what's the word I'm trying to find? The more I'm trying to find a word, I can't find it.
I know. They have memory loss?
No.
Oh.
They're not high on themselves.
Okay. They're not self-confident?
Well, that too, but they
lack self-confidence.
Yeah. And I don't know. And there's a lot of it. And I mean, just the slime balls that are involved in that they have to work with daily, that make the decisions.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're a woman, oh my gosh, you can run into a lot more.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just jerks and slime balls. I mean, the path that I took is not the most lucrative, but I only have to work with myself. I'm the only slime ball and jerk that basically I have to work with, so that's kind of cool.
And you're the only one touching your private parts.
Right now, that is true. Let's talk about this brewski, this dark beer.
Let's do it.
What do you think of it? It's kind of an but it's not as bad as I thought it might be.
You're right. It's not as bad.
It's pretty good. I still say the predominant taste is licorice in this, which is unusual. And most of the beers, I think we're going towards like coffee, kind of a dirty coffee, leathery taste. This one to me just tastes very licoricey.
Yeah, and it's very. I I don't know if we should really learn the words that we need to know.
Why? I like
to describe beer.
I like common man talk. Common person
this
talk.
tastes. It has a thin
very,
mouth feel.
Yeah, it's not
if
as
that makes
it's not
sense.
as rich
Right.
as some of the beers that we've had, some of the porters that we've had. It's a little bit thinner, but kind of on the same level. Totally loses its fizz. I mean, mine is very flat.
Porters aren't supposed to have a lot of.
I know that's what I don't like
Carbonation.
about them. But so I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm giving it a 2. Not the best, but I've had worse. It tastes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. Yeah, a 2.
Giving it a 2 as well.
Yeah.
So we'll give it a 2.
I was gonna go 1.5, and I thought, I would
a little
really
better
have
than
to
that.
dislike it to give it.
Yeah,
a
I think it's a
1.5.
little bit better than that. It's a very average beer, a little lower than average, but still, it's there. Okay.
Okay.
So we both say
that
2.
part's done.
I think it's time for us to shut everything down. Are we going to shut everything down?
We should, but I have a couple of things to take care of.
Oh yeah, what?
What's a foot long and slippery?
I'm not even going to answer that.
A slipper.
Oh, a foot long.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Oh man, I've already read some of these. What did the mayonnaise say when the refrigerator door was opened?
Close the door. I'm dressing.
Did I already read that one?
No, I just know that one. I
Oh,
learned it
okay.
when I was in 2nd grade. Some of these are older than you. Most of them
That's
are.
why they're dad jokes.
I'm not even a dad, and I know that one.
I guess they're just old man jokes.
Well, let's do a couple of these new Would You Rathers, all right? I'm going to give you a
Okay.
question. I'm picking one right here.
Just pick it.
Would you rather marry a rich, shallow investment banker or a poor, brilliant artist? Ha, 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 ha. I'm
Wow.
going to take that down there to my wife.
I'm gonna go with A.
You'd rather marry the rich, shallow investment banker?
Yeah.
What you do is you marry them for a while and then
Yeah.
divorce and get a cut of the money.
No, I don't
And
even
then you
have to
marry the
divorce
artist.
them. You just marry them for the money.
Really? If they're shallow? I couldn't live with a shallow person.
Well, you never said I had to live with them.
Well, you're married to them. What what do you expect?
They're rich. I like to travel.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm gonna ask you one.
All right.
All right. Would you rather be proposed to on the Jumbotron screen at a baseball game
No.
or be divorced on the Jumbotron screen at a baseball game?
I've had too many divorces. I don't think I'll do that, so I'll go with the proposal.
Okay.
I don't care for either of them,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Well, you would never be at a baseball game.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. All right, speaking of baseball game, we're done.
That's it. 3 strikes. We're out.
I don't think that makes any sense.
None.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We are so happy that you do, because you don't have to, and we
You-
understand that.
Nobody's forcing you.
But we do have some requests. Please go to wherever you download the podcast and give us a review, give us a rating, because that helps us. That helps Apple or Google or Spotify or anybody place who has the podcast to identify us and give us a higher ranking and rating and all of that.
and then
good
more
stuff.
people can find us, and then you can meet those people on our group on Facebook, which is the Disaster Baiters group.
Yes.
And you can have more friends. So ultimately, if you give us a rating, you get more friends.
And just get in touch with us. Send us a letter at thisepicdisaster@gmail.com, or on Facebook. You can send us direct messages, whatever you want to do. Give us some advice.
Sure.
Give us some hints, what you'd like to hear on the podcast, what you don't want to hear. If you're tired of some of this talk that we talk about cutting things off,
And Rick playing with his mala is probably one of the things you don't want to hear.
no one hears that. No one can see it.
Okay.
You didn't even need to bring it up. No one needs to know.
I can hear it.
These are the great kind of things that you hear, but you can find us everywhere. You can listen to the shows on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. You can listen to the shows. We're working on some videos right now that we're going to put on YouTube. That's not even going to be a show,
It's just a video.
just videos. So things like that. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. So thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is a Violet Jester Media podcast.